Here at home, a Montreal city bus driver could face disciplinary action after showing support for protesters denouncing Quebec's new religious neutrality law. The legislation introduced this week bans women from covering their faces while accessing public services. The CBC's Sudha Krishna has more on the controversy the new rules are generating.
The Quebec government continues to stand by the law, saying that as far as it goes legally, it hits the legal threshold in terms of addressing the issue of religion and the state, something that the Quebec government has been wanting to do for years now. But even though it's been receiving a lot of backlash, the Justice Minister in charge, Stephanie Vallée, she even wrote an opinion piece in the Montreal Gazette saying this is a way to live in religious harmony. There are provisions in place to apply for accommodation requests, and those can be sorted out. Having said that, lots of backlash from outside Quebec. This week, as we heard, the Ontario legislature, including Kathleen Wynne, saying that this piece of legislation is going to drive a wedge between people. Others saying no place in Canada. Alberta Premier Rachel Notley saying it smacks of Islamophobia. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this week kind of going a step further, saying this is something that we can look at. And human rights lawyers, constitutional lawyers saying they're not surprised that this will receive a constitutional challenge. Michael.
So something that we're watching for, but we also have to note the fact that it's been, 3 days since this law passed. So how is it being enforced? Is it being enforced?
Well, here's the tricky issue, Michael, because those in charge of enforcing the law, they're going to have to wait till the summer to really get clear guidelines, but it is technically in effect. So that means if you're riding on board a city bus, you have to show your face, and that is why we had protesters yesterday during the morning rush hour wearing surgical masks and scarves saying, I shouldn't be allowed to ride the bus, should I, if this law is meant to target, require people to show their faces. And that is why we saw this bus driver who pulled over, he covered his face and honked the horn. Now we're hearing, according to the STM, the Transit Authority, that he may face a disciplinary action, that he's been identified. He's going to have to speak to his superior. Now, we're not 100% sure why that is. Could it be just because there's a standard code of ethics that they have to just do their job and not seem a bias? So we still have to sort that out. But even the STM Bus Drivers Union saying we don't want any responsibility for this until we get some clear direction from the STM. And we've been trying to also sort this out with labor relations lawyers as well, because they were saying that maybe this could infringe, like a driver could, like an employee could express their opinion if it infringes on their working condition, which is something that these drivers are having to deal with. So certainly a lot of issues, a lot of questions, a lot of fallout from this controversial piece of legislation, Michael.
Well, thank you, Sudha, for that. That's Sudha Krishnan in Montreal. Now, if you want to know more about Quebec's religious neutrality bill, you can head to our website. You can find out how Bill 62 stacks up to similar laws elsewhere around the world. To see that, just go to CBCNews.ca and follow the links.